congratulations on the film.
Thank you so much.
Just wanted to ask the first question, what made you want to adaptate Peter and the Wolf in the first place?
Yeah, sure, absolutely. Well, I grew up with Peter and the Wolf. You know, it's sort of a big childhood thing of mine, growing up. You know, I grew up with the music. I grew up with the Disney film back in the 40s. You know, it was made in the 1940s, and as a kid in the 90s, it was out on video. So I grew up with that version as well. Yeah, I mean, it's a very famous fairy tale, so, you know, I wouldn't expect not to grow up with something as amazing as that, you know. I mean, a fairy tale like that just really gripped me. I mean, it's just incredible. I mean, it's a story about a boy who goes off to, you know, to face this deadly foe, but he's grouped up with a bunch of animals, you know, an unlikely group of animals, you know, to face this animal, you know, the carnivorous one. And it was amazing to see. I mean, it's very original and unique. I mean, the fact that these characters are set by different tones of music, and, you know, you have the cat with the clarinet and the wolf with the French horns, etc. You know, and I just sort of loved every time that I watched it. The whole essence of it was incredible. So as early as, I'd say 2014, I actually had an idea to adaptate Peter and the Wolf, because I was so into making films more then. I mean, obviously I made my first feature film back then, but because my first feature film was taking so long to finish, I mean, obviously it took me 7 months of my life that year to do it. I just said to myself that I had to, you know, not do Peter and the Wolf and shelve it and keep it in my idea files for now. And then it's taken me 3 years later to make one, because obviously I filmed it back last year, but now I'm releasing it this year. But yeah, I mean, the idea of adapting Peter and the Wolf was a great idea, because, like I said, it's a great story, and obviously I've just modernised Alice in Wonderland, so I thought, why not modernise Peter and the Wolf? And luckily I managed to do that, so yeah.
That's brilliant. So next question is, why or how did you manage to think about modernising this fairy tale? Because it must have been so hard to modernise it.
Yeah, well, you know, modernising it wasn't easy. You know, because it was like, how do I modernise this fairy tale with animals? And, you know, with a student, when I was back then a student who had no money, how on earth do I make this adaptation? I mean, I didn't even know that many actors when I started making this. So I started writing a script as soon as I finished my third feature film. I just done Cash in the Pond, and I just released that, and then immediately the next day I started writing The Wolf, because it was during Cash in the Pond that I had the idea of adaptating the Wolf in the first place. So what I did was I wrote the script, started writing the script, and I immediately thought of some actors who I already wanted to be in the film. And I mean, the idea of modernising it was kind of funny, because I had this idea of, like, you know, because how do I make these people become animals? I didn't want to do the whole cliche of, you know, for example, I had Chris who dressed up as a wolf, and I didn't want him to be on his 4 legs and howling at the moon or anything like that, because that would have just looked really ridiculous. But the idea of him, you know, being the wolf and obviously dressing up in a costume and the actors being in their costumes was kind of the idea. I had this amazing idea of, you know, what would happen if these characters dressed up as these animals to go to a Christmas party, because Christmas party, they, you know, that kind of links in. So I thought that's just perfect, a perfect example to dress them up and to put them as animals who go off on this Christmas party, and then they end up, you know, they end up coincidentally as those characters, you know. And the guy who plays Peter, I mean Sammy, who played Peter, but it's a young guy dressed up as like a hunter or someone who's about to go out on a trek, you know, and you know, that's basically coincidentally the characters, you know. So it worked, but it was funny, but it worked, you know. And it was just perfect how to modernise it, you know, because obviously it's set in 2017 anyway, so it's a bunch of people going off to a party, and it just works. So
can you tell us how you managed to find your cast and actors and what it was like working with them?
Yeah, finding the actors was. I mean, I'm not going to lie, it wasn't easy. It never is when you don't know so many actors. But luckily, I met quite a few in 2017. I mean, first of all, we need to talk about Chris as the Wolf. I mean, Chris Hampshire. I mean, I met him in April that year, last year, and I met him at a film screening, and you know, I thought he was such a really good actor in the films that he'd done with Emma Dark, and me and him got on really well, and we said that we'd be happy to work together on something, and this was the project, you know, this was the one, and it was so funny because I remember when I was writing the script and I had this idea in my head of who would the wolf be, you know, who would this guy be dressed up as the wolf. Chris was immediately in my head, and I was like, oh my god, you know, Chris would be perfect to play as the wolf. Not that he hasn't played wolves before, or dresses one as cosplay. No, it wasn't that. It was more because he just suited the role in my head as this dangerous criminal who's going on the run, who attacks the young characters, and then dresses up as a wolf to actually hunt them down, like literally, you know, wolf hunting, predator, prey, everything like that. It just matched it so well. So I wrote the script, and Chris was the first person in my head to play the wolf, and actually the first person I wanted to be in this movie. But part of me thought, is he going to want to do this? Is he going to like the script? Is he going to hate it? You know, because I always worry about what the actors are going to look at the script and think, well, I want, you know, what do they think they're going to enjoy doing this script? You know, because, you know, sometimes my scripts can be a little bit bumpy, and sometimes my scripts might sound good, but then they might not look good, you know, and I just worry that Chris was going to look at this and think, it looks good, but is the film actually going to be good, you know? And I just didn't think it was going to be his thing. But he read the script. I sent it to him. I said, please read it. Let me know what you think. I'd love for you to be the main villain for this role. And amazingly, he read it. Literally 2 hours later, I got a message, and he said, I'm in. He said, I love the script. He said, it's brilliant, you know. So he was happy to do it. And the one thing that I love that everybody said was the fact that this script had no dialogue. Because the reason I wanted to have no dialogue in this script was because I really wanted it to be the same tone of Peter and the Wolf, you know, no dialogue except for the narration. And obviously we had a bit of a casting issue over who should be the bird, because I did have an actor who should have been the bird, but then he pulled out at last minute. So Ryan became the bird, because originally he was meant to be the duck, but I changed it. So I stepped forward and became the duck, which was fine anyway, because the duck is technically my favourite character in the film anyway. But, you know, I knew Ryan that year pretty well. We worked together on the first sci-fi film that I did last year. He was also in Cash in the Pond as the main villain, the detective. You know, we worked together quite a bit, and I just wanted to work with him again because he's such a really talented young actor, and he's a good friend of mine, and, you know, we always get on, and he enjoys working with me, and I enjoy working with him, so that works. And also, this was the first casting for Isabel Albert to play the cat, because Izzy impressed me so much with her reliability and passion for acting that I thought her as the cat would be so perfect for this role, and she just suited the costume, and it just suited her personality as well, and she did an amazing job, especially for someone who's been in the very first film. And also with no dialogue is just incredible. And she's done very well since then. She's done quite a few things, so career's picking up, which is good. And Sammy, of course, this was my first time working with him as well. I mean, Sammy's a great guy, you know, he's a friend of mine, and he's worked with me already on quite a few things. But he was my first choice as Peter. You know, I wanted to work with him, so I thought him as Peter could work, and it did, because he did a fantastic job. Although he looked a little bit like Joe Pesci from Home Alone, wearing his costume, which was really, really funny. But we left it alone. And of course, Chantel plays the policewoman in the film. You know, Chantel, who's someone who I've also really wanted to work with for quite a while. She got to play the policewoman. I was really glad to work with her as well. Really talented, fantastic actress for the role. And finally, of course, the legend himself, Rennie Costa, as the grandfather, who, upon meeting him for this film, has led me to meet other actors who he's introduced me to and worked with. And yeah, I mean, Rennie done such a fantastic job as the grandfather, and it was because of this film that we made such an amazing friendship. And you know, it's just become amazing. You know, this whole thing has become amazing. So yeah, and everyone did a fantastic job with their roles. I mean, there's no doubt about it. Everyone was fantastic. And you know, I've got such a beautiful bunch of actors in this film. They're all just incredible, and I couldn't have picked anybody better for the roles, especially 100%. So I'm very happy with the roles and the cast, and because of them, the film looks amazing. So
Brilliant. Okay, and final question: why the Christmas setting?
yeah, the Christmas setting. Well, Peter and the Wolf is set in Russia. It's full of snow, so every day it's like Christmas to them. Only joking, but you know, it was always in my intention to make it a Christmassy film. And the lucky thing is, we filmed it last December, and everything was getting Christmassy. The town had like Santa Claus decorations up, and there's lights in the background, and yeah, it's a very Christmassy film. So, and also there's also little bits of public domain Christmas music put into the background as well and stuff, as well as the Peter and the Wolf symphony as well and everything like that. So yeah, it looks amazing, and it looks very Christmassy. So I thought the Christmassy feel for it would work. It would look like a Christmas film, and it does, to be honest. I think it's one of the most Christmassy films I've actually ever done. You know, I mean, last year we did Archie and Jim, which was a Christmas special, but it didn't feel very Christmassy as much. But this one feels more Christmassy. So this is definitely the most Christmassy film I think I have ever made. On Christmas Day, that will be released.
Reese, thank you so much. Thank you.
Thank you so much.